Hello, this is UzReport World News with the latest headlines in Uzbekistan and around the world. Tourism is one of the strategic sectors of the economy of Uzbekistan. 86 countries to date enjoy a visa-free regime with the country, while citizens of 53 countries can get their visas electronically. However, against the background of the pandemic, it is this sector that has suffered the most. Measures to restore and develop the country's tourism potential were on the agenda of a regular meeting chaired by President Shavkat Mirziyoyev on December 9. Uzbekistan plans to attract 1.7 million foreign and 7.5 million local tourists in 2021, as well as increase the export of services in the sector to $370 million. According to Mirziyoyev, pilgrimage tourism is one of the most promising directions that deserve attention. Uzbekistan has hundreds of Muslim shrines, monuments of Judaism and Buddhism. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the country could attract 700,000 pilgrims and ensure the export of services worth $130 million. The president pointed out the need for a gradual resumption of air links with European countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, Thailand, Japan, and the launch of new destinations for pilgrimage tourism from next year. He also criticized the high cost of tickets of the national air carrier and gave instructions to reduce prices. He noted the lack of work to promote pilgrimage tourism and scientific approach. Instructions were given to simplify the visa system for citizens of countries where pilgrimage tours to Uzbekistan are in high demand. Moreover, Mirziyoyev also ordered to extend the benefits and preferences granted to the tourism industry amid the pandemic until the end of 2021. Another item on agenda of the conference was the broad involvement of people in sports. Physical culture and sports today cover only 19% of the country's population. Problems associated with an unhealthy lifestyle, excessive consumption of foods high in salt, sugar, fat, flour dishes, and bread products are becoming more frequent. A well-known fact is that the coronavirus is particularly unkind to those who are obese. People with cardiovascular and respiratory diseases face difficulties in the treatment. A decree of President Mirziyoyev of October 30 this year defines important measures for the widespread adoption of a healthy lifestyle and the further development of mass sports. At a meeting on Wednesday, he gave instructions to create all amenities for pedestrians and cyclists. He urged to attract entrepreneurs for the construction of private sports facilities, playgrounds for workout, mini football, badminton, street ball, and fitness halls. On December 10, Uzbekistan celebrates the adoption of its national anthem, which was approved back in 1992. The anthem was written by late poet Abdullah Aripov and composed by Mutal Burhanov. It is customary to perform it during the opening and closing ceremonies of the national holidays celebrated in the Republic, and also can be aired at government agencies, private and public companies' premises. Citizens of Uzbekistan refusing to pay their alimony might be obliged to do community service and disqualified from driving. The proposal was put forward on December the 9th at a meeting conducted by the Ministry of Justice. The event, led by the chairperson of Oli Majlis, Tanzila Narbayeva, discussed the measures on improving the family law.
At the end of the meeting, it was agreed to draw up a draft regulatory document aimed at introducing courses to prepare young people for life in their family. Also, it is planned to allocate consumer housing and automobile loans on favorable terms to support families during the first 3 years of their marriage. Over 45,000 court decisions are issued annually. Around 240,000 executive documents on the recovery of alimony payments are being processed by state agents. The criminal courts hear more than 3,000 cases annually against defaulters of alimony payments. In Uzbekistan, the right of the debtor to leave the country is suspended as a measure to collect debts. In some cases, offenders have no financial means to pay the fine. Administrative detention is not conducive to the payment of maintenance arrears.
The Uzbek government is going to involve the private sector in public administration. Starting from March the 1st, 2021, business entities will be able to provide certain types of public services. My colleague has more.
Employees of business entities that provide public services will have to hold a certificate of an accredited training center, which defines the types of services. Certificates will be issued for a period of 3 years. The provision of services by business entities will be carried out within the framework of a single platform of the Agency for Public Services. It will also form and maintain a unified electronic register of entities, while citizens can then choose suitable agents for themselves using this platform. All services will be rendered on a paid basis. Business entities have the right to independently set their fees. The revenue will remain at their disposal in full.
The Minister of Construction of Uzbekistan met with Minister of Infrastructure of Korean Republic on Wednesday. The sides discussed cooperation areas, in particular in the construction sector.
South Korea is a leader in the use of energy-saving and BMI technologies in the construction industry. The Korean side expressed its readiness to cooperate with Uzbekistan in this area, in particular to share its experience in harmonizing rules of urban development with international standards. The Korean parliament recently approved the allocation of grant funds for this project, and a special task force has now been established. Korean partners also plan to attract Uzbek construction specialists to improve their skills. I express my personal gratitude for the participation of the Minister of Construction, Zakirov Batır, in the conference. It is important for us to develop and strengthen interdepartmental cooperation with the Minister of Construction of Uzbekistan. Currently, many large industrial and infrastructure projects are being implemented with the participation of Korean companies. Our companies are also interested in participating in promising projects in the future. Today, a representative office of the Korean Corporation for the Development of Foreign Urban Infrastructure has opened its doors in Uzbekistan, which in turn will serve to further closer cooperation in the construction sector between us. The Ministry of Land Resources, Infrastructure and Transport is ready to fully support a joint project to modernize the building codes of Uzbekistan. According to the Korean partners, a group of the best Korean specialists will create a special national platform for building standards. Modernization of standards will be carried out not only in the construction of buildings, but also in transport, engineering, and other types of structures.
Tashkent on Wednesday saw the opening ceremony of the head office of the Yoga Federation. The event was attended by the mayor of Tashkent, who will be simultaneously the chair of the new federation, Jahangir Ortikhodjaev, and the head of the coaching council of the federation, Natalia Strizhnova. Indian ambassador to Uzbekistan, Manish Propat, was also among the distinguished participants.
The federation was created to popularize yoga and a healthy lifestyle among the population, and it works together with Indian specialists. Yoga studios are currently operating throughout the country.
Initially, it was the Federation of Yoga and Meditation. With some regulation changes, we have recently had re-registration and became the Yoga Federation, because yoga has many aspects, including meditation.
Yoga is a very ancient system of practice which improves your health, your spirituality. Yoga is a heritage of mankind. It is not only for India, it is for everybody, and all who practice yoga will find great benefits from it. I remember that when President, His Excellency Mr. Shavkat Mirziyoyev visited New Delhi in October 2018, he himself told Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi that how much interest in yoga is there in Uzbekistan.
The opening ceremony had a special spirit with the performances of yoga students. Yoga has many poses which are essential for respiratory and the movement support system. Current scientific research proves that yoga has profound health benefits for the organism and effective in fight against illnesses. Experts say that various masterclasses, mass events, and clubs will be organized in the future to promote yoga among the population.
The Special Commission on Combating Coronavirus has closed Expo Center's field hospital. The decision has been made after the report where it says the epidemiological situation in Tashkent has started stabilizing. Those few inpatients that are still treated at the hospital will be transferred to infectious diseases hospitals in Zangiota district. The job contracts with medical staff working in these temporary hospitals will be terminated and they will return to their previous jobs. Currently, only 32 out of 159 medical institutions are operating in the country due to the relatively low risk of pandemics. Uzbekistan's government budget spending year-to-date has reached 131 trillion soums, which is equivalent to some $12.5 billion US dollars. The Senate Committee of the Oli Majlis on Budget and Economic Reforms gathered online to discuss these and the state budget of the Republic for 2021.
The quarantine measures due to the spread of the coronavirus pandemic, natural disasters and man-made accidents have forced the government to alter the expenditures and its policy. Thus, the budget expenditures were optimized by almost 8 trillion soums. However, the deficit has amounted to 7.7 trillion soums as of October 1st, 2020. Based on this, it's planned to allocate 147.2 trillion soums for budget revenues and 149.9 trillion soums for spending in 2021. The off-budget pension fund revenue will amount to 23.5 trillion soums and expenses will exceed almost 36 trillion soums. For that reason, 14.7 trillion soums will be channeled to cover the deficit of the fund. The discussion of the state budget touched upon the disclosure of information on expenditures of ministries and departments. A special attention was paid to transparency and openness by posting all reports on the official website of the Ministry of Finance. Following the results of 9 months of this year, the revenues of the state budget of Uzbekistan has totaled 94.5 trillion soums. Next year, the Uzbek government plans to maintain macroeconomic stability and economic growth rates of over 5%.
From 10 to 16 December, Uzbekistan's State Inspectorate for Supervision of Quality Education, in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Education, will conduct a national assessment of students based on PISA requirements.
The Program for International Student Assessment is intended to evaluate educational systems by measuring 15-year-old school pupils' scholastic performance on mathematics, science, and reading. According to the government's decision, Uzbekistan will have to be among the top 30 countries in the PISA International Assessment System. Based on the PISA requirements, we have selected 3,500 9th grade pupils from 150 schools and provided them with all necessary test books and questionnaires. The survey consists of 2 parts, tests and survey. The students are required to answer test questions logically.
President-elect Joe Biden's son Hunter Biden said on Wednesday the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware is investigating his tax affairs. Hunter Biden said in a statement released by the Biden transition team, quote, "I take this matter very seriously, but I am confident that a professional and objective review of these matters will demonstrate that I handled my affairs legally and appropriately, including with the benefit of professional tax advisors." He said he learned of the investigation for the first time on Tuesday when prosecutors informed his lawyer of the probe. The Biden transition team on Wednesday released a statement saying, quote, "President-elect Biden is deeply proud of his son, who has fought through difficult challenges, including the vicious personal attacks of recent months, only to emerge stronger." CNN reported that investigators have been examining multiple financial issues, including whether Hunter Biden and his associates violated tax and money laundering laws and business dealings in foreign countries, principally China, according to 2 people briefed on the probe. The investigation began as early as 2018, predating the arrival of William Barr as Attorney General. 2 people briefed on the investigation told CNN. Reuters could not confirm the reports. The U.S. Attorney's Office declined to comment. Hunter Biden became a focus of attacks from President Donald Trump and his Republican allies in the campaign for the White House. Trump and Republicans have questioned potential conflicts of interest from his position on the board of a Ukrainian energy company at the time Democrat Joe Biden served as vice president. Trump's actions in connection with the Ukrainian matter resulted in his impeachment by the Democrat-majority U.S. House of Representatives last January. Hunter Biden has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing.
Like many hospitals across the U.S., Providence St. Mary Medical Center in Apple Valley, California, is running out of space. The influx of coronavirus patients has forced staff to convert the main lobby into a COVID-19 unit. Randy Lovelace is the interim director of the emergency department.
We've had to wall this off with a temporary structure to make this an entire area of negative pressure so that we can hold more COVID patients here.
The community hospital within Southern California's San Bernardino County has a 212-bed capacity. As of Tuesday, 108 of its patients are COVID-19 positive, and in other parts of the hospital, many patients are waiting in improvised areas for beds. Quality Care Director Mendy Hickey says the problems don't stop there.
I know today that we have 60 patients holding in our emergency department that are waiting for beds inside the hospital. Some of them have been there as long as 7 days waiting, and that is very difficult. We're out of ratio in the majority of our inpatient units, which means that the nurse is taking care of more patients than is ideal, right? So we have done a lot of creative things where we look at surgeries on a daily basis and we redeploy staff from those areas to help supplement care. And that's really hard on the staff.
Meanwhile, patients are being screened in the parking lot before they are admitted into a tented area for triage. 42-year-old Melissa Leon was hospitalized on Sunday. The mother of two who also has diabetes says she took all precautions and is nervous to go home to her 10-year-old son.
Now I have to go home and take care of my son and make sure he's okay. You know, I need to get him tested. I need to quarantine myself. I need to figure this all out now. I mean, I don't want to scare my son, but he's already scared. He's been scared since the whole thing started.
A scarcity of hospital beds was behind California's decision to reimpose lockdowns across the state this week. But relief could be coming soon in the form of a soon-to-be-approved vaccine, which the FDA could greenlight in the coming days. And Providence St. Mary Medical Center will be ready. It's already purchased a new freezer unit for vaccine storage.
The U.S. Federal Trade Commission and nearly every U.S. state sued Facebook on Wednesday, saying that it violated antitrust law and should potentially be broken up. That could mean the forced sale of two major platforms it owns, Instagram and WhatsApp.
Just a few minutes ago, I led a bipartisan coalition.
Led by New York Attorney General Letitia James, the coalition of 46 states, Washington, D.C., and Guam accused the behemoth social media company of using its dominance in the industry to crush the competition.
For nearly a decade, Facebook has used its dominance and monopoly power to crush smaller rivals and snuff out competition, all at the expense of everyday users.
The complaints on Wednesday accuse Facebook of buying up rivals, focusing specifically on its previous acquisitions of Instagram for $1 billion and messaging app WhatsApp for $19 billion. Federal and state regulators said the acquisitions should be unwound.
Facebook would try to squeeze every bit of oxygen out of the room for smaller companies that refuse to be bought. They also sent a clear message to the industry. Don't step on Facebook's turf. Or, as one industry executive put it, you will face the wrath of Mark.
Facebook's chief executive Mark Zuckerberg told employees in July that Facebook would go to the mat to fight a legal challenge to break up the company, calling it an existential threat, according to audio of internal company meetings published by The Verge. The U.S. Justice Department sued Alphabet's Google in October, accusing the $1 trillion company of using its market power to fend off rivals. The lawsuits are the biggest antitrust cases in a generation. Facebook shares fell nearly 2% after the news.
As coronavirus cases in the U.S. soared past the 15 million mark, overwhelming hospitals and forcing new restrictions in pockets across the country, approval of a vaccine could be just around the corner. A panel of outside advisors are set to vote Thursday on whether to recommend the FDA issue an emergency authorization of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. Health officials predict a swift green light, enabling the U.S. to join Britain, Bahrain, and now Canada.
At last, we have a reason to feel optimistic,
which approved the vaccine Wednesday, saying it is safe, effective, and of good quality. Now attention shifts to the U.S., where approval rests with the FDA, an agency that U.S. infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci says you can trust.
If the United States Food and Drug Administration says that a vaccine is safe and effective, I can promise you that I will take that vaccine myself, and I will recommend that my family does that.
In a virtual conversation with Dr. Sanjay Gupta on Wednesday, Fauci hailed the coming vaccines, but warned Americans not to let their guards down.
If you've been vaccinated, you probably still need to wear a mask. Am I right? Because you could still be carrying the virus, potentially transmitting it, even if you're less likely to get sick yourself.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. So wearing a mask, physical distancing, avoiding crowds, that should all stay as we get into the vaccine program.
A vaccine can't come soon enough for many Americans, like California's Jim Albrecht.
So I feel real confident. I'll be there day one.
Health professionals are preparing for the rollouts, like the University of Wisconsin-Madison Health System, which recently began training staff on how to mix and administer it. The help is urgently needed. The U.S. averaged over 2,000 deaths and over 200,000 new cases each day for the past week, a staggering toll that U.S. health officials warn is likely to accelerate.
Stocks backed off record highs on Wednesday as stimulus talks seemed to go nowhere. The Dow fell 105 points. The S&P 500 gave up 29. The Nasdaq dropped 243. With the stock market currently at pricey levels, it is at risk of succumbing to even the smallest of disappointments, says Gerber Kawasaki CEO Ross Gerber.
Well, right now we're dealing with extremely elevated markets that are basically fueled by low interest rates and money printing and hope. So I think the market's a little bit ahead of itself in euphoria over the vaccine, and a little bit more reality will come into play over the next several months. So we're very cautious on the markets at the current valuations. We've been maintaining a very conservative perspective. I haven't turned bullish yet overall on the economy.
Tech had a particularly bad session. Facebook was sued by the Federal Trade Commission and a big coalition of U.S. states. The lawsuit accused the social media giant of breaking antitrust law. Shares of Facebook slid 2%. High-flying tech names like Zoom and DocuSign were downgraded by JP Morgan. Zoom finished 6.5% lower. DocuSign lost roughly 6%. A reminder of the current day tech craze came by way of DoorDash. The stock surged more than 85% in one of the strongest market debuts of the year. By the end of the trading session, the market valuation for the food delivery startup was larger than dining chains Wendy's, Chipotle, Domino's, and Dunkin' brands combined. The stock closed at $189 a share after its IPO priced at $102 a share.
An unmanned SpaceX rocket exploded during a return landing attempt on Wednesday. The prototype Starship had only been launched minutes before at the company's Texas facility. The events were caught on live video. The 16-story tall prototype was designed to launch a heavy-lift vehicle, which is being developed by SpaceX to carry humans and 100 tons of cargo on possible missions to Mars and the Moon. The self-guided rocket's test flight had been intended to reach 41,000 feet, propelled for the first time by 3 of SpaceX's newly developed Raptor engines, but it blew up as it touched down on a landing pad following a controlled descent. SpaceX head Elon Musk tweeted immediately after the accident, saying the quote, "Fuel header tanker pressure was low during landing burn, causing touchdown velocity to be high." But he added with congratulations, SpaceX got all the data they needed.
These were the top headlines for today. Stay safe and goodbye.